people are talking about how Kirby Smart has like this mysterious Alabama problem. And I don't really think that's true. I think the true statement would be if you just took out Alabama from that statement. Hey, what's up, everybody? I'm Nick DiMartino. That's Will Charlton. That's Zain Bando. This is another edition of Forever Power 5. You can follow me on Twitter at Nick DiMart, Will at Will Charlton H13, and Zain at ZainBando99. You can watch all Empty Event shows on YouTube.com/ETV Network. You can listen to Forever Power 5 wherever you get your podcasts, and make sure to like and subscribe. And this podcast is presented by Playback. Stay tuned for later in the show to find out more. All right, so Alabama beats Georgia in what is going to be a real shakeup in the SEC. This is one of those games where, like, it seemed like the public was like really, really big on Georgia, although they were only favored by 2.5. I was listening to Joel Klatt. I listen to Joel Klatt a lot, and he was like really big on Georgia winning this game. He was also really big on LSU, so I faded him twice, and and it worked pretty well. Like, the point is that when I think that the public, including experts including analysts, whenever they're really big on a team, I like to go the other way because Vegas knows more than they do. If Vegas tells you Georgia and Alabama are even, which is what the 2.5 points at home tells you, they probably are. They probably are. If they're telling you, like, Ole Miss, LSU, if Ole Miss is only giving 1.5 points at home, they're telling you LSU is only slightly better, and they're probably right.
Mm-hmm.
In fact, they were wrong. Like, they weren't right enough. Like, they didn't go far enough. So in this game, I will say, people keep talking about Kirby Smart having an Alabama problem. And want to hear something interesting? He's 1-7 against Alabama. Yet he's won 2 national titles. He has more national titles than he has wins against Alabama. One
of them is against Alabama.
Yeah, that's
the one win.
Yeah, that's weird.
Yeah, his only win against Alabama was in the national championship, which I think is a wild stat. Although my thing is, people are talking about how Kirby Smart has like this mysterious Alabama problem. And I don't really think that's true. I think the true statement would be if you just took out Alabama from that statement. Like, he doesn't really have an Alabama problem. He has, right now, in these past couple of seasons, has an everybody problem. I mean, they barely beat Georgia Tech last year. Last year, they had a Georgia Tech problem. Last year, they had an Ole Miss problem. I mean, like, it just seems that way, like, when it comes against Alabama. But, like, it's not that he has an Alabama problem. It's just that this is just the team Georgia is now, and that they've taken a step back since they've won 2 consecutive national titles. Like, people are making it sound like it's such a mysterious thing. Like, the mysterious thing to me would have been like last year when Georgia beat Texas twice, even though Texas, by every other measure, seemed like a better team than Georgia, but Georgia just had their number. That was a little weird. But to me, it's not weird anymore that a Georgia team that almost lost to Georgia Tech last year, couldn't beat Ole Miss, and also lost to Alabama. Like, it's not that mysterious to me. I just think that's the team that Georgia is. They don't have the playmakers that they once did. They don't have great offenses. And a lot of times, Georgia, like, they fall asleep in, like, the first half of these games. And then they have to make these crazy comebacks.
We've already seen that too this year,
comebacks, but you dig yourself in a hole. That's not an Alabama problem. That's just a problem.
Yeah, I mean, you're right, Nick. It's not the same Georgia teams that won back-to-back national championships. I mean, you were just loaded on both sides of the ball on those teams. And Georgia, I mean, we were talking about it earlier in one of the earlier podcasts that Georgia's wide receivers, Zachariah Branch is obviously a very good wide receiver, but Georgia as a whole, there's not like a crazy amount of offense that terrifies you in any means. I mean, their wide receivers are very unproven, besides Branch, who has had very good success at Louisville and USC so far. But obviously, Gunnar Stockton is still kind of finding his own as that quarterback. I mean, this is obviously his first season as starter there, first full season, I guess. And I will say this, like Georgia, when they beat Tennessee, I was thinking that, okay, wow, so Georgia is actually looking really good right now. And that's a huge win to get on the road, especially when, you look at Tennessee and how well they've been playing so far to start the season. I thought Tennessee was probably going to win that game at home, but Georgia comes in and pounds them. I mean, it was obviously not literally by the score, went to overtime, but you know what I mean? Like they came in and they played a very physical game and they won it.
Yeah, exactly.
And now you look at
half.
Right. Yeah. I mean, they fell behind a bit, obviously, but you look at this game, it's like, well, what is the deal with Georgia now? Because I think what you brought up about the spread is really interesting, because I wondered why Georgia was only a 2.5-point favorite for like the whole week. And I think that's a testament to the fact that Georgia is, well, I don't even know if you could say Georgia's unproven because they beat Tennessee, but like you saw their first handful of games against like, what was it? Charleston Southern or something like that, or the FCS team. They didn't really, Austin P, I think that's what it was.
Yeah, it was Austin P and Gunnar Stockton threw like 34 times.
Yeah.
Then they put up 28 points. Like it was their offense.
So I will say, though, in terms of Alabama, Kalen DeBoer has done a phenomenal job of turning this team around the past few weeks, because you were sitting at 0-1 after a disgusting, gross loss to Florida State where you got manhandled. I mean, you were not
really
in that
did.
game at all. And
You
all of
really
a sudden, you have reeled off wins, a very convincing win against a power conference opponent in Wisconsin, which isn't surprising. And now you make this statement that you can go on the road and beat a Georgia team. Hats off to Kalen DeBoer. Ty Simpson's looking very confident now as the quarterback. I think Alabama is going to start really picking up some momentum here.
Yeah, I would say so too, and I think this Alabama, this version of the Alabama team we're seeing right now is a far different version than when they played Florida State. That's not to discount Florida State's performance in the first game of the year. Florida State played really well, but I think if you were to have those two teams rematch 50 times, I would say that Alabama wins the good majority of them, simply because whatever it is that the Tide needed to figure out on August 31st or whatever was, they finally figured it out in early October, which is the time that they need to figure it out, and to go on the road in I guess an SEC championship type of environment on national TV, one of the biggest games of the entire weekend, to go in and win that game in the way that he did was very, very impressive.
Oh yeah. And it could have gone, and the truth is this game really could have gone either way. It really could have gone either way. I mean, there were maybe if the wide receiver, what was his name? I forget his name. If the wide receiver doesn't drop that easy pass, basically almost pulled like the college version of like a Mark Andrews, just dropped the pass where he would have walked into the end zone. Or if maybe they made a better play call on 4th and goal, or just kick the field goal even. Mm-hmm. Although, maybe if it wasn't this handoff to Cash Jones in which he tripped, I mean, the game, like those are two key plays. And also the unnecessary roughness penalty late in the game that also happened. Yep. I mean, if Alabama had committed that penalty, it would have been a referendum on Kalen DeBoer not controlling his players and the team being undisciplined. But, that doesn't happen with Georgia. But ultimately, it's like Georgia these past couple of years probably has been the hardest team to like figure out or create a narrative about. And I guess a lot of teams are a little bit like that to some extent. Like last year, like I said, they weren't like they had a really down year last season, but they still ended up winning the SEC, even with their backup quarterback for some of the SEC championship game. Like Georgia is just this year and last year is the team that you can't figure out and really just doesn't make sense. And to some extent, every team is a little bit like that, but it's a lot easier to draw narratives about other teams than with Georgia. But look, with anything going on in the SEC, it's hard for anything to even really shock me that much because the SEC can go in like all different directions. It's kind of like what the Big 12 is now. Like anybody can win the Big 12, except it's just a much higher level. Like it's not like the Big 10 that it very much has a hierarchy, like the haves and the have-nots. The SEC is everybody kind of has a little, if that makes sense.
Yeah, no, I definitely agree there. And one last thing about this game too, the screen pass to Caden Proctor, that was
unbelievable.
Awesome. That was so sick. I love that, man. I love seeing a big man rumble. That was beautiful. And the fact that he almost scored too.
Yeah, I think Fowler and Herbstreit were a little bit taken aback at first, and then their reaction as the replay was being shown was just absolutely priceless.
Yeah,
absolutely priceless.
That was awesome. But yeah, Nick, I definitely agree with what you're saying. That the SEC is, after what we've seen like with Tennessee, Georgia, and now Georgia, Alabama, and even Ole Miss beating LSU, which we'll get to in a little bit here. I think the SEC is really up for grabs because even Texas haven't really been incredible yet. I mean, they haven't looked all that convincing yet. So I look at the SEC and I'm sitting here right now. It's like, I don't know who's going to win the conference. I can't confidently say I know I would pick a team who can win the conference right now.
Yeah. And also like who knows? Because we don't even really know what Texas is. I mean, the truth is Arch Manning hasn't looked great, but you know what? Texas is now like a defensive team. It feels weird to say that because they've
weird
for most of my life.
I honestly think we're going to know a lot about Texas after this Saturday, in my opinion.
I agree. I agree 100%.
Because I don't think the loss to Ohio. I don't think Week 1 non-conference games tell you a whole lot because I feel like people have short-term memory about that. People forget how those games go sometimes. I mean, in Week 1 non-conference game, Ohio State. The first in 2014, they lost to Virginia Tech, and they end up winning the national championship. I mean, all sorts of things like that happen, and it doesn't really tell you a whole lot about that team going forward, especially when your quarterback is Arch Manning. But the truth is, Texas, even though for most of my life, defense has been their fatal flaw, now Texas is an offensive team. And the truth is Arch Manning doesn't have to be a superhero to win these games. He really just has to know what he's doing, not screw up too much, and they're probably going to be okay, especially against a team like Florida. I mean, DJ Lagway is going to screw that up for you anyway. He doesn't need to throw for 300 yards to beat a team like Florida, or really
just make the throws you have to. That's all you really got to do. Just make the throws you have to. I mean, you got so many good weapons
against good teams. That's all he really has to do. I mean, so he doesn't have to be a superhero in these games. Although, we really don't know much about Texas yet. Like Zain said, I think we'll find out. Now, also in the SEC, Ole Miss ends up beating LSU. I also called this one. I think part of the reason was the road environment thing. It is hard playing on the road in the SEC. And also, week to week, I felt less confident in LSU. First of all, that win against Clemson, I think, says a lot more about Clemson than it did about LSU. I don't really think it said a whole lot. LSU beat Clemson, but Clemson also lost to Georgia Tech and Syracuse and needed to come back from 16 points to beat Troy. I mean, given how bad Clemson's been, it's surprising LSU couldn't win by a bigger margin. So week to week, that win just looks less and less impressive. And I think LSU they were being a little bit overrated because they won that week 1 matchup against Clemson. That's ultimately what I think it was. And Ole Miss was going under the radar. Remember Brian Kelly was rightfully not happy with the reporter who asked him about why they can't run the ball. Well, I think that reporter is pretty, maybe not happy, but is like, yeah, I told you so. Like now, because you were able to beat Florida.
Their running was awful against Ole Miss. I mean, it was pathetic. It was terrible.
The thing is, it's very easy to win games when the opposing quarterback throws 3 interceptions, including a pick 6. They were only up by 3 points against Florida, and like it's not like LSU looked. Sure, they won the game, which is what matters, but they didn't look good. Their offense looked dysfunctional. And LSU's offense hasn't looked good. Their offense has not looked good at all, especially their run game. Their run game has been terrible. And this is against Ole Miss. Ole Miss is not a defensive team. Like that's not what they're known for. Ole Miss is an offensive team. And I think that LSU has a lot of tough questions to answer. And now that matchup on the road against Alabama, now it looks increasingly difficult. And it looks more and more like LSU is going to just have the same old story.
Yep.
Like they just weren't good enough to be a playoff team.
Yeah, I would agree with that 100%. And also I want to ask Garrett Nussmeier a lot of questions too, because I mean, this is one of the guys who was supposed to come in and be one of the more premier quarterbacks in college football this season. He just has not looked the part. I mean, he just did not play that good against Ole Miss. Like less than 200 yards passing and an interception. I mean, he had a touchdown, but I will say like one of the most impressive quarterbacks that has kind of emerged into this landscape is Trinidad Chambliss. I mean, he has been awesome for Ole Miss. I mean, like looking at the stat line here, like sure he missed 16 passes, but he threw for 314 yards. That's a damn good stat line against what's usually a very good defense under Brian Kelly. Trinidad Chambliss has been a really nice filled hole for Jackson Dart and Ole Miss so far. And I'd say that, Ole Miss all of a sudden you're 5-0 and there's no reason they can't, keep making noise in the SEC. I mean, this is a win right here that can really propel a team forward. And Lane Kiffin, obviously a very good coach. So I think Ole Miss is sitting here feeling pretty good about themselves, already 3-0 in the SEC.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. It would. The only other thing to add to that is anybody who was discounting Ole Miss going into this past weekend because of everything that's going on with LSU. I don't think anybody's discounting Ole Miss anymore, and especially as the season gets deeper and deeper into October and November, these wins carry weight, and this was certainly a big one. It was a close one. It was a gritty win, but they got it done.
Yeah. And it looks more and more like Ole Miss is likely going to be a playoff team.
I mean, you're already 5-0 and 3-0 in the SEC. I mean, hypothetically, like if you go 10-2, you're in the SEC. Yeah, even if you don't make the title game, you're in for sure. You're probably hosting a game, honestly.
Yeah,
probably.
Their two toughest matchups are on the road at Georgia, and
which is a winnable game now. We just found out.
Which what?
Which is a winnable game now. We just found out.
Yeah, on the road at Georgia and on the road at Oklahoma. John Mateer might be back by then. I'm not sure.
Probably not. I think he's out for, I want to say, a solid month or so.
Okay, so it looks so. Even if which looks even better for Ole Miss, but even if they were to lose both of those matchups, they would still very likely be a playoff team.
Oh yeah, all you got to do is handle business against unranked opponents the rest of the way after that. Unless Mississippi State finds a way to get into the poll, which they hypothetically could. They have looked pretty good so far.
Yeah, like Mississippi State is like the bottom tier of the SEC, but they don't even really look all that bad.
Well, I wouldn't say they are right now.
Actually, you're right. I wouldn't.
They should have beat Tennessee.
You're right. I wouldn't say that they're bottom tier of the SEC. I would say I would normally think of them as the bottom tier of the SEC.
Right, because they have been. They have been the last 2 years. So, for sure.
The truth is, the bottom tier of the SEC, there's really only two teams that legitimately aren't good in the SEC, and that's Arkansas and Kentucky.
Yeah.
And by the way, I think Kentucky might not even really be all that bad. They gave Ole Miss a pretty good game.
They did.
So,
it was at home, but yeah.
Yeah, the one team that I think is really, really not good is Arkansas. I think they're probably the worst team. But in terms of everybody else, Florida, Auburn, I mean, they're not great, but I think all those teams can give the top of the SEC a run for their money.
Totally.
Not in terms of the standings, but in terms of just how the games play out.
Mm-hmm.
Which is more so, unfortunately, Nick D, it's more so a moral victory than anything else at that point.
Yeah. Yeah, no, you're right. It's a moral victory, but it also like always calls into question the other SEC teams, because usually people end up questioning the better team almost losing, then maybe the bad team isn't really that bad. That's usually how the line of questioning goes. But the point with LSU though is that they have so many questions that they have to answer. If they end up going 10-2, just like Ole Miss. Well, Ole Miss is going to get the spot ahead of them because they beat them head to head. And they have to go on the road and play Alabama. I don't know what the odds are as of now in terms of the spread.
Alabama will be favored. They'll be favored. Probably by a touchdown, I assume.
Alabama was favored by, I think, 6 points a couple of weeks ago. It's probably a little higher now.
Probably.
And all of these games, just from the way LSU's offense has been playing, a whole bunch of these games they could end up losing. I mean, they play South Carolina at home. South Carolina doesn't look great this year, but look, South Carolina should have beat them last year. They go on the road to play Vanderbilt. They probably win that game, but you never know with Vanderbilt. But
I don't know. Vanderbilt's looking really good too so far.
Yeah, you never know. But their toughest, I would say, would be they play A&M at home, they play Alabama on the road, and they play Oklahoma on the road the last week of the season. And John Mateer's
they legitimately could drop 4 games there. They really could.
They really could.
And then they're not even sniffing the playoffs.
No,
they were
riding ready to learn the LiaQuest Bowl or Citrus Bowl.
Yeah, so
no kidding.
And the biggest problem for them is their offense. They ran for 57 yards against Ole Miss.
That is so good.
57 yards.
Disgusting. Absolutely.
What does Brian Kelly got to say about his run game now?
Yeah, they ran the ball a total of 22 times.
Across a handful of different guys too.
Yeah, multiple different running backs. So that has to be that's a big issue.
I'm pretty sure Caden Durham did not play in this game. Their starting running back. I don't think he did.
No, he did not.
Yeah.
And Nussmeier, he threw the ball 34 times, but he threw.
He was so inefficient. He was so inefficient.
Right, so inefficient. And the problem with Nussmeier that I saw last year is that he often exploded.
Mm-hmm.
He often imploded in some of these games.
Yeah.
Like against
he had the great games, but then he has games like these too. So it's what's the deal, Nussmeier? I mean, what's going on, man? Can you we got to figure it out here, because you're a really good quarterback, but at times you just seem lost out there. It's weird.
People talk about how bad Penn State is against top 10 teams, but with LSU, it's not even top 10 teams. It's top 20 teams. It seems like.
Yeah.
And, it almost seems like
that's honestly why I'm so shocked they won that game at Clemson. I mean, even though it's not that impressive a win anymore, it's shocking they actually won that game.
Yeah, exactly. Also, Oregon beats Penn State.
Big game James strikes again. He strikes again.
I fell for it. We all fell for it. That was a mistake by all of us. We should have known that this one was coming. This one was of
I thought Oregon would cover
as I've ever seen. This game will never be forgotten around State College for all of the wrong reasons. I can tell you that. This was an absolute abomination on Saturday night. An abomination.
I'm at the point where it's how long is this going to continue for? Because this has been the case ever since he's been at Penn State. He can never win a top 10 game. He can never do it.
Besides one game against Ohio State.
Right. The blocked field goal game. Right. Yeah. But I'm just saying, besides that game, I mean, what's his record now? It's 4-20 or something.
4-20 against against whatever it is. Yeah.
Top 10.
Yeah. It's ridiculous.
Teams,
that. I just don't get and I understand that Penn State will still probably be a playoff team, sure. But it's just I just don't understand how it keeps happening. I mean, you get so many games with the whiteout situation. You have the best home environment in college football. I'm willing to say that.
They do.
You can't win that game?
Not only that, Dante Moore has never played in an environment like the whiteout before.
Granted, he looked great. Dante Moore played one hell of a game. And I will say Oregon is filled that hole really nicely because losing Dylan Gabriel, you didn't really know what to expect. Dante Moore has been awesome so far for the Ducks.
Yeah. And also Penn State, it's like they don't have Tyler Warren, but they do have largely the same team. They do
you have two of the best running backs in college football on your team.
Yeah. Yeah. Who returned from last year.
Literally.
So they have a whole lot of the same players, and they also got a whole bunch of wide receivers in the transfer portal. I think that their number one in terms of yardage. They're the only wide receiver who did anything was Devontae Ross. He was the only one.
Yeah,
that did anything at all. Their second most receiving yards on the team was Singleton, a running back. All the other wide receivers hardly did anything.
Drew Aller, check down merchant.
Yeah,
I will say, he has been for as hyped as he was coming into the year. I always thought that he was overrated, man. I haven't seen it yet with Drew Aller. I just really haven't, and I know that he is a good quarterback, but I just haven't seen it yet with him. And I know Oregon's got a phenomenal defense too. Don't get me wrong, but I just Drew Aller could beat up on all these little tier opponents all he wants to. In a game like that at home, you got to be able to make some throws, man.
And the game always ends. All of these games, they end with a terrible Drew Aller interception.
Exactly. Notre Dame, Oregon. I mean, I think there's another one in there too. Didn't he throw one against? He threw one against Ohio State last year?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep. To lose the game in a game they were winning the whole game. They were winning the entire game.
Yeah, they were.
Oh my God.
Well, in this case, they weren't winning the entire game. I mean,
and this is
no. I will say that touchdown pass he had to minimize the score to a touchdown in the fourth quarter, that was a beautiful ball. But that's one good pass out of however many bad ones he threw in the game.
That's a game that should have never gone to overtime in the first place. If we're being honest.
Well, in the first three quarters, they were hardly even scoring. It's unbelievable. Like you said, it was unbelievable Penn State even made it a game. It's not like it was a missed opportunity. It was more accurate to say that they shouldn't even have been in the game because they just went on two big runs late in the game. And when, in the first three quarters, it was every drive in the first three quarters ended in a punt, except for one which ended in a field goal. And of those punts, 3 of them were 3-and-outs. So they weren't moving the ball well at all in their own home environment against Oregon with a bunch of players, with a bunch of the same coordinator, many of the same players that they had last season. I also think Penn State seems to have a bit of a wide receiver problem. I mean, last year they had Tyler Warren, who's a tight end, but they don't have playmakers at wide receiver. It seems like they have one guy that they can rely on.
I mean, the last guy I really think of when you think of a Penn State wide receiver is KJ Hamler. I mean, that's the last guy I think of really who was a Big Ten playmaker for Penn State on offense. I'm probably missing someone more than likely, but KJ Hamler is the last guy that comes to mind who was their guy,
Yeah.
And I mean, he was on Penn State how many years ago? 4 years ago now, maybe?
Yeah, over 4 years ago.
I mean, look, I think they're probably not going to beat Ohio State, although I kind of hope they do.
No chance. No chance now. No, especially with it being on the road, not a shot. Ohio State is the juggernaut.
They look too good. Ohio State looks too good. They can lose but the thing is, they can lose. Their two biggest matchups are Ohio State and Indiana. It's safe to say they're probably not going to beat Ohio State, but they really have to beat Indiana. Otherwise, their resume would look like
you're not making the playoff at 9-3.
No, you're not. And luckily,
your biggest win would be, I don't know.
I don't know.
That schedule,
it's the thing. I don't know.
I know. I look at the schedules. Who would the biggest win be?
If they can't beat Indiana at home, their best win would probably be Iowa on the road. That would probably be
Forget about it. They won't make the playoff then. Forget about it.
Maybe
I will say 9-3 in the Big Ten is not going to do it. It could in the SEC. It's not going to be in the Big Ten.
9-3 in the SEC.
It's too power heavy right now. There's too many good teams.
Look, even in the SEC, 9-3 is very difficult, depending on how your schedule is. But Penn State's schedule is not tough enough. They're not playing a top 10 team every week.
You also didn't play a major power conference opponent out of conference. Like you played 3 cupcakes to start the year.
Yeah, their non-conference was a complete joke, which the
like it's not like you threw an SEC team in there that you beat non-conference. Be like, oh, okay, you beat you beat an Auburn or you beat a Tennessee or something like that.
Guys, they couldn't even cover the spread against Villanova. Think about that.
Well, I mean that was a horrendous
point spread.
That was a horrendous beat at the end of the game. But.
One of the worst beats ever. I don't blame them for that. But
still, though,
I watched that
game
live.
By 70. Come on, guys, really?
I don't care about that. But like Penn State, look, the thing is that
that's hard to do against any team.
They're probably going to be a playoff team, but they're also not going to have home field advantage in the playoffs if they make it, assuming they make it. And that's just going to be. It's just a huge issue for Penn State, and it's an issue I used to kind of dismiss a little bit. I used to think it was overstated, but now it's just like it's like the most glaringly obvious thing in the world that Penn State uniquely has this problem against top 10 teams. I don't like to say they can't win the big game. They can win big games. There's a lot of big games that they win. It's just not against top 10 teams. And you know what? It's better to be an Ohio State team who loses games to inferior opponents, but also can win it all and, beat the best teams.
And I will say their 2 playoff wins last year were against Boise State and SMU. 2 teams you should beat.
Yeah.
So it's not like those are really even impressive wins either. Like
no. But also like with Boise State and SMU, I think that I think Boise State and SMU last year, and maybe to an extent even Indiana, I think that a lot of people try to fit like a college basketball screw into a college football hole. And what I mean by that is like the concept of like Cinderella teams and things like that. People are like, oh, I love SMU, I love Boise State, this is great. And then they end up getting to the playoffs and they show that they just had no business even belonging. I mean, there are a whole lot of teams that didn't even make the playoffs that would have beaten Boise State and SMU about as bad as Penn State beat them. Like, so they weren't even good wins. In fact, the most in a weird way, you could argue the most impressive performance Penn State had was when they lost to Notre Dame. You could even argue that.
Oh yeah, I would argue that for sure.
So yeah, it's a problem that they have to take care of. Staying in the Big Ten, Indiana, they beat Iowa, and I've never seen a game end this way ever. That would literally be now. The spread was 6.5. I think
you've never seen intentional safety at the end of the game.
The spread was 7.5. I think, or even 8.5 at that point.
It was 6. It was 6.5, I believe.
I've never seen. No. It was higher. It was higher. The spread was higher.
Maybe it was 8.5. But you've never seen intentional safety to end a game, Nick?
You didn't see this?
No, I'm saying you've never seen intentional safety to end a game.
Not like that.
Really?
No, not like that. I've seen intentional safeties end the game. I've never seen a quarterback run back 40 yards.
It happens
in a Big Ten.
I don't think I've ever seen
in a Big Ten game. Personally, I've never seen it.
I'm just saying in general, but yeah, I mean because even
intentional safeties end the game. Yeah. I've never seen it like that though, where he ran.
Because it happened in the NFL on Sunday too with the Eagles and Buccaneers.
Yeah, sure did.
But I've never seen a quarterback in college or the pros run back almost half the length of the field.
Yeah, I guess that's fair.
There were 3 seconds left. I don't under. Second of all, they were only up by 7. That's dangerous. What if he fumbles in the end zone and an Illinois player picks it up? It's not like they were up by 10 points and it wouldn't have mattered. So that's a little scary to me. Like, I don't know why he didn't just run out of bounds. And Indiana, like, they won that game, but they were really lucky to win that game.
Ugly Big Ten football game. That was Iowa played their type of style of football and somehow
they really did.
Lost.
They really did.
Like I thought when the game was tied at 13, Iowa was about to take that field goal. I was like, wow. So all of a sudden, this Indiana team, who I thought was really, really good after 4 weeks, is just not.
Well,
but then Iowa missed the kick, and then Indiana survives. So
well, also maybe if Iowa completes that easy screen pass on 3rd and 5,
yeah,
maybe maybe Iowa ends up winning that game. Overall, no, I think Indiana is a good team. It's just that Iowa's kind of a tough place
riding
to
a
play.
little too high. Riding a little too high after the Illinois throttling.
Well, the thing is that what they say is you're never as good as you think and you're never as bad as you think. Indiana is not the team that destroyed Illinois, and they're not the team that almost lost to Iowa. They're really somewhere in the middle. That's probably what they are.
Yeah.
Last year, they destroyed their competition because their schedule was so easy. They played in the Big Ten, but played an ACC-level schedule.
I'm so curious how that game against Oregon in 2 weekends is going to go for them. I'm so curious about that. That'll be the test to see if Indiana's legit or not.
I don't think it's going to go very well, unfortunately. I know
probably not.
I know that that's 2 weeks away, but that game in Autzen Stadium in the middle of the afternoon screams bad news to me, in my opinion.
Yeah, it does. I think that's going to be Fernando Mendoza's wake-up call, probably.
I think so, too.
Well, I think that
I'm going to go a step further and say if Indiana gets pounded by Oregon in Eugene in a couple of weeks, it completely eliminates Fernando Mendoza from any Heisman conversation for the rest of the year.
No, absolutely.
It kills it.
Okay. He's probably not going to win anyway. What is the likelihood of an Indiana quarterback winning the Heisman?
Well, I mean, if he keeps playing as he has,
kind of tough.
He'll be up there.
Okay. I want to talk a bit about Virginia upsetting Florida State.
Fun game. Fun football game.
The wildest field storm. Like, people are saying the quickest field storm. It looked like the wide receiver got, sucked in. I've never seen anything like that. I would like that. We can't play it, but I would like to play it thanks to copyright rules. But, yeah, I would love to play it because that was a crazy thing.
It was nuts. Yeah, I mean, hats off to Virginia, man. I think that this was a program that, I mean, it's a very veteran team. I think Florida State finally got a little slap in the face that, you're not as incredible as you might think you are. They're still a very good team. It's just, I think that was probably the wake up call Florida State needed. It's like, okay, hold on. We're not a top 10 team. We had a great win over Alabama, but now we prove that we can lose to other teams. And now Virginia's ranked. I mean, Chandler Morris played very well. He was as efficient as could possibly be. I know he had 3 interceptions, but that was a slugfest, man. That was just back and forth the entire time. That was a fun watch on Friday night. It was to see Virginia actually have a decent football team is pretty surprising because you never see this. I mean, the last time we saw that was when I can't remember their quarterback's name.
It was a classic look-ahead game for Florida State.
Yeah, because I mean, you saw Miami coming to town in a couple of weeks, but hey, you gotta go to Charlottesville first, and they're heading back to Tallahassee, not a top 10 team anymore. So Castellanos had a rough game, obviously, but Virginia. Hats off to them, man. It's been a pretty cool turnaround for this veteran-led team. And I'm definitely kind of excited to see how they can do the rest of the way in the ACC now.
Go ahead, Zain. You have anything?
Yeah, I mean, all I can really say about this was, college football is obviously a super unpredictable sport, and a lot of people were viewing this game as almost a throwaway game, a game where Florida State could kind of go in there and relax and do their thing and control the game against Virginia. And, Virginia was probably pissed off the whole week with all the disrespect and how much they were being discounted and how much more people were interested in, who Florida State's next opponent was going to be. It was as great of a wake-up call as I've seen in a long time. And this is a Virginia Florida State upset that I think a lot of people are going to remember. Had shades of the upset in the 90s as well, and that's one of those games where Virginia goes to a bowl game later on this year and potentially wins it. It may look back on this Florida State game as a kickstart to what would be potentially a very, very surprising close to the season over the next month and a half. So I thought it was one of the more entertaining games of the entire weekend, despite it only being on a Friday night.
It was. I agree. Fireworks.
Yeah. And also, briefly, Illinois, you guys, congratulations.
Huge bounce back.
I must be a good luck charm. I'm undefeated in person so far this year. I don't know what's going on.
There you
you
go.
I
were
don't know
there?
what's going on. Well, I'll let you start on this before I get into.
Well, Zain, no,
how
you were there. Tell us about your experience, man. You were there.
What was it like?
I gotta say it was a very nervous press box for 3.5 quarters.
I'm sure.
The game kind of went very unexpectedly. Illinois gets that turnover really early in the game, and it's like, oh, Illinois might be revved up, and then Makai Lemon just goes absolutely crazy. And once he started scoring, I got extremely nervous. I'm like, okay. It was a mid-second quarter. I'm like, if this game gets into a track meet, it's going to go the way I think it's going to go, where USC is going to pull ahead of late. And somehow, some way, man, Illinois, just its resilience the entire second half was something that I honestly didn't think it had in them after being humbled by 53 the week before. But and this is why you always have to trust Bielema after a demoralizing loss. He always finds a way to pull through, and that's exactly what they did. And he said it best: when you have a guy in David Alon, who is your kicker, who has almost a flawless practice every single day, and you put him in the position you put him in to where they didn't even have to watch the kick to know whether or not it was going to go through. I think it tells you a whole lot, and I think it was a season-saving win for the Illini if I've ever seen one. An absolutely demoralizing loss for the U.S. A loss where maybe it goes the same way as a season ago, where they lose one game and they simply can't recover. But we'll see. I don't know.
I will say this. This game, the score was a lot closer than it should have been, because Illinois should have been up 31-7 at some point in the game. The fumble call at the goal line for Caden Fagan, what was that? What was that? I mean, he was as down could possibly be. This game should have been 21-7 going into halftime, because Illinois, that was a first down. That was a first down that Caden Fagan rushed for there. So it would have been first and goal from like the 2 or something like that. Instead, they call it a fumble. Yeah. I mean, he was as down could be. That was seriously the most mind-boggling thing I think I've ever seen before, because I don't know how it's that blatantly obvious and he missed the call.
Everybody in the press box literally muttered "Holy shit" at the same time. That's how crazy it got.
But no, I mean, to see the resilience of Illinois be able to overcome the late deficit, USC storms back, goes for that 2-point conversion, which was I love that call by Lincoln Riley. I thought that was a phenomenal call to do that by Lincoln Riley, especially when you're in a situation where it's like, if you go for 2, we can go for the win at that point. But I will say this: I question USC's decision to score that fast, because you let Illinois with 3 timeouts get the ball back with a minute 50 left in the game. It was right after the 2-minute timeout, and you give a ball back to a veteran quarterback, Luke Altmaier, who has tore your defense up all day long. Like, I don't get that decision by Lincoln Riley. That was a questionable decision. Like, I get Makai Lemon had a phenomenal game. He was unbelievable. He's one of the best receivers in the Big Ten, for sure. But to score that fast against a team who has been tearing you up all day long, I just don't get that decision by Lincoln Riley. I just really don't. Now, I don't know if that was more on Maava or Riley for that decision, but to see Illinois face that adversity, go down the field, use all 3 timeouts beautifully, and then send out your veteran kicker, who has been nothing but reliable, to win the game at home, big new kickoff, that was special. Illinois needed that win so badly. Confidence is definitely where it should be now after that awful loss to Indiana. And now you got to go out and prove that you can beat a rather bad opponent in Purdue next weekend.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, the only other thing I would add to that is, I think it was.
How about Hank Beatty, man? Hank Beatty is just like
a stud, absolute stud.
And Luke Altmaier catching the touchdown pass too, rushing for 1, passing for 3, and then catching 1.
Yeah.
A 5 touchdown day for Luke Altmaier, kind of nuts.
Yeah, definitely a signature Altmaier performance.
Sorry, 4. He threw for 2. Sorry.
Yeah. I was going to say a signature Altmaier performance if I've ever seen one in one of those games where it was almost like a sigh of relief as soon as it was over. Because let me tell you this: on the field before the field goal went through, I can tell you that there were a lot of people in that stadium that were very, very nervous there were some older people that have been through the roller coaster before that have said, "Oh, we've seen this before," or Nick could end badly, and thankfully he didn't. So it was pretty entertaining, and I think just the pomp and circumstance and the pageantry the whole weekend with Big Noon kickoff and Birchville College football being there made it a lot more exciting and definitely added some more hype to it than I think otherwise wouldn't have been there had those two elements not existed overall. So
I mean, USC, I don't think they're going to make it, but they still have a shot to be in the playoffs. And the only way
both these teams do.
Yeah, they both do. For USC, they're going to have to beat Notre Dame on the road in order to make the playoffs, which is going to be difficult. I don't know if they have much of a chance against Oregon later in the season, but they're going to have to go 10-2 in order to be a playoff team.
Hey fans, Novig is here to change the way you play. Available in 35 states, including California, Texas, Florida, and New York, Novig is America's #1 sports prediction market, and it's 10 times more profitable than traditional sports books because there's no house edge. Instead, you're betting directly against other sports fans just like yourself. Novig is also the only free exchange, which means you keep every dollar you win, whether you're putting plays down on the NFL, the NBA, the NHL, Major League Baseball, college sports, or even UFC and tennis. Novig gives you the power to pick the best odds, or better yet, set your own. Sign up today with the code ETB Network, and you'll get 1,000 Novig coins plus $5 in Novig cash, and special bonus offers like spending $5 and getting $50 back. Novig, where fans play smarter. You must be 21 years or older to play. Please gamble responsibly. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER.
Forever Power 5 is presented by Playback. Watching sports is more fun with others, but we spend too much of our time watching alone. Playback is a virtual space where communities can stream live sports together with everyone perfectly synced up. Creators can hop on stage, deliver their own play-by-play analysis and commentary, and invite viewers up for Q&A. Playback makes watching sports fully interactive and a social experience. From playing fantasy sports, repping your favorite players and teams, and watching the commentators and communities you care about. Win or lose, sports are best enjoyed together. Join our community by going to playback.tv/ETB network to find out more, including our live stream schedule. And now back to the show.
Finally, we have to get into picks. Starting in the SEC, Kentucky at Georgia, giving 3 touchdowns, over under 48.5. I love Georgia here. I can't emphasize enough how good of a coach Kirby Smart is in these situations. And like we were saying, Kentucky is at the bottom tier of the SEC. They're a step above Arkansas. This is the second worst team, I would say the second worst team in the conference. Georgia is going to kill them. Whenever Georgia is being doubted, that is when to bet on them. That's even true in games. Like we were saying, they make these crazy comebacks after playing terrible in the first half, like they did against Alabama and they did against Tennessee. It's the same thing with games. Just bet on Kirby Smart when the team is being doubted.
I'm with you. Georgia points over. You took the words out of my mouth.
Yeah, they cover the over by themselves.
Might.
Yeah, I will take Georgia in the points too. I'm not gonna touch the over under, but you guys are probably right. This might end up.
I'm not touching the over under, but I'm just saying Georgia could cover the over by themselves. I'm not touching it.
But Will, you're confidently saying the over will hit here?
Yes.
Yeah, I don't know if I go as far as to touch the over under, but Georgia should surely win in this game by however much it wants. Kentucky is a horrible team, and it should be a game where Georgia can take out all of its frustration from last week on to Kentucky this week. So I like Georgia as well.
Vanderbilt at Alabama minus 10.5, over under 56.5. Will, you can start with this. I'll get to it later.
Diego Pavia and the boys looking for 2 straight years of beating Alabama. How about it? It's not going to happen. Vanderbilt has been very good so far this season. They've been an awesome story in college football. I do think they can keep it close for a little bit, but I see Bama winning this game by about 2 touchdowns. So I think that Bama is just riding really high after that Georgia win. They're feeling really confident. They know what they're capable of now. Ty Sims is coming into his own. It's not good. It's too tough in an environment to see. And granted, I know Vanderbilt crushed South Carolina on the road, so they have won a road game. South Carolina is not Alabama though.
No.
So I'm going to take Bama on the points here. I'm going to go under on this game as well. I think I could see a total of around like the 52 mark. So I think I see it being like a 28-14 ordeal, something like that. Maybe somewhere around that. Maybe like a 35-14, something like 35-21 ordeal. So yeah, I like Alabama by a couple touchdowns in this one.
Well, and just to clarify, when you say that Vanderbilt keeps it close for a little bit, are we talking a couple minutes? Are we talking a quarter? What are we talking?
Maybe like the quarter of the first half, because like Bama might be riding a little high after the Georgia win. But I think the second half is when they turn it on. They might turn a touchdown lead into the 2 touchdown lead they win by.
Okay, I like Bama to cover the number 2. I'm not comfortable taking a stab at the over under, but what I can tell you is I think this is we're pissed off and we're gonna show you kind of game at exact revenge from last year. And I think by the middle of the third quarter, Diego Pavi is not gonna know what hit him, and I think it's gonna be one of these absolute routes by Bama. So give me Bama to cover the points.
Yeah, I would have to agree. I mean, I don't think Vanderbilt's going to end up beating Alabama 2 years in a row. And Alabama looks really, really good. I mean, there's nothing more I can say. Alabama looks great. Ty Simpson has played very well, not just last week. He's played well consistently since the loss to Florida State. I like Alabama here minus the 10.5. Staying in the SEC, Texas is giving 6.5 at Florida. So yeah, you can go first.
Really?
This is one of those games that Florida hangs around in, man. This is one of those games that Florida hangs around in. I like the Gators with that plus 6.5. I really do. I think that over/under is pretty low. I'm not going to touch it, but I like the Gators plus 6.5 here. I don't know. It's at home. Florida proves that Florida can hang around in some games. They can. I'm not very sold on Texas yet. This just feels like one of those games that Florida's going to hang around, and they might not win, but I could see Texas only winning by like a field goal. I'm telling you.
Nick D, what do you have? I'll go last.
I love Texas here, and I love the under. You're right. This is a game that Florida hangs around in, but Florida hangs around until they don't. They hung around against Miami, and they hung around against LSU until everything fell apart in the fourth quarter. They hung around against LSU. They were only losing 13-10, and then DJ Lagway threw a pick 6. And they were hanging around against Miami, and then Miami scored 2 touchdowns in the fourth quarter. And I was just like 2 consecutive touchdowns. And, they might hang around, but I don't think they're going to cover the number. Florida can hang around, and then eventually they're not really hanging around anymore late in the game. That's kind of what I think is going to happen. I mean, let's say the score is 21-14.
I just think Arch makes too many mistakes. I just think he's going to make too many mistakes that keeps Florida in the game.
But here's the problem. DJ Lagway is going to make so many mistakes that.
No, I agree, but their defense is going to keep him in the game.
Well, I think that I agree though. I think that Florida's defense will be good, which is why I think it's going to be. Which is why I'm firm on the under. But DJ Lagway makes so many mistakes. I almost find it hard to believe that against this Texas defense, they'll be able to score like 14 points. That's going to be difficult. I mean, let's say
they might not have to.
Yeah.
Because their defense will back them up too.
I mean, let's say 24. Let's say the score, like I could see them winning maybe 24-14. And that, like I said, that's a little generous. I also could see there being a Texas defensive touchdown. I think it's very likely that might end up happening. But in terms of how this game is going to go, I don't think Florida – the thing is Florida does hang around in these games. But they can't play 60 minutes of football. That's the problem.
No, they can't.
Especially with DJ Lagway. So I love Texas here at minus 6.5. Arch Manning does not have to be a hero. He does not have to be a hero. He has to only play fairly well, fairly okay in order to win this game.
Yeah, with this one, it's pretty simple, and I feel like better coach, better team, better skill for skill. Texas covers this number at home. They covered this number on the road. Texas wins this game outright. Florida, we don't quite know. Oh, we don't we know. I guess we could say we know where Florida is. They're kind of they're kind of a shell of who we think they actually are. But at the same time, pretty much all year so far, they've just failed to deliver in a big spot, and they're gonna fail to deliver here. I think this is a game where Arch Manning actually plays pretty decently. I think he throws a couple touchdowns, and I think they should be able to win in this game by at least 10. Give me Texas minus 6.5 on Saturday.
Yeah, we're all in on the Longhorns. All right. Miami minus 4.5 at Florida State, over under 53.5. Will, you can go first.
Give me the U. I think Miami's the better team here. They've proven that they're probably arguably, I mean, I wouldn't say they're the best team in the country, but they're right up there. Florida State's going to play them tough. They're going to play them tough, but I see Miami win this game by a touchdown. And I think it's a late touchdown. In fact, I think this game is tied late, but Miami scores a late touchdown. I don't know how late, but it's in the fourth quarter. That ultimately gives them the win, and then their defense backs them up in a little bit lower game. So I'm going that Carson Beck makes enough plays to outplay Thomas Castellanos. Florida State drops another one in a row, starts 0-2 in the ACC, and I'm going with the under on this game.
Nick D, what about you?
I got to go with Florida State. I could see Florida State even winning outright. I don't know. Look, I don't know how good either of these teams are. They've both shown some good signs. One of the problems with Miami is I'm a little bit afraid. The problem with taking Miami is I'm a little bit afraid Mario Cristobal is going to have a Mario Cristobal moment and keep them in the game a lot longer than they should. Not to mention Florida State coming off a really, really bad loss. And they really don't, I mean, they're a bit more desperate. They're really trying not to be 0-2 in the ACC to start. I like to bet on teams coming off tough losses like that, not to mention they're playing at home. I'm not really that convinced Miami's that much better than Florida State. And I don't know. I really, and the other reason is I
much better defense.
What's that?
Much better defense.
Yes, I agree. I don't disagree. But I'm a little bit afraid that like we're gonna have some, Mario Cristobal has like he's not old, but he has like senior moments when he coaches. He has like those moments where he just keeps Florida State in the game. And I think it's more likely that's gonna happen against Florida State playing on the road. I like Florida State, and the public seems to be really big on Miami. I really like Florida State here. I like Miami this year. I am a believer in Miami this year. I think they go 11 and I think Miami wins the ACC. I really do. I think this is going to be Miami's loss. This is going to be the point where they get tripped up. The rest of their schedule fairly easy, I would say. I mean, you got to watch out for Syracuse, but you never know. I think Miami goes 11-1 and this is their one loss.
Interesting. I am just gonna go a little more conservative and say that I think the under is in this game. I'm not picking a team here. I think this is a nasty rivalry game. I think this is a game with a lot of bad blood, a lot of pent-up frustration. Both teams are technically good for the first time in a while, so this game carries some weight. I think it's going to come down to who makes the final bonehead mistake is more than likely going to lose the game. And I think it's a low-scoring 3 to 6 point slugfest where you're not going to see a lot of touchdowns. You're going to see a lot of just physical hits. I think you're going to see both quarterbacks get beat up a little bit, and I think it's going to be this ugly last-second field goal type of game. So give me the under in a bloodbath in Tallahassee on Saturday.
All right, interesting. Under. All right. Mississippi State at Texas A&M. Texas A&M is giving 14.5 points. That hook scares me a whole lot.
That terrifies the hell out of me.
I really like Mississippi State to cover the points here. To me, Mississippi State has been good. They've looked fairly good. They took Tennessee to overtime in a game that they should have won. Texas A&M, they beat Auburn, but they only beat them by 10 points. They didn't score a whole lot of points. I don't know. I mean, Auburn really held them, and Auburn's passing defense has been a weakness. And Texas A&M, they have, they can throw the ball a lot, and they have two really, really good wide receivers. And, I think that they should have been able to win this by a lot more. And I think it's going to be a similar type of thing with Mississippi State. So, I think Marcel Reed played well against Notre Dame, but he was inefficient. He went 17 for 37. I could see a similar type of thing happening here. Sometimes I think A&M is just sometimes a little bit inefficient. And I think Mississippi State will give them a little bit of a run for their money. I think they will keep it within the 14.5 points.
Yeah, I'm not so sure. I think this is another game where it's hard to call. I think it's a ton of points. I'm going to go a little bit more conservative here, and I just think that overall this is going to be a high scoring game. This is going to be one of those games that I think people are going to be talking about on Sunday morning. Oh, did you see this game? And if you missed it, you're not a true fan of college football. I think this is going to be one of those games where we're going to look back on it as an instant classic at the end of the year, and I think it's going to come down to whoever has the ball last. So give me the over.
The thing is, like what you're talking about, Texas A&M could win this game by 2 touchdowns, and Mississippi State would cover.
Yeah, exactly.
So I am going to say I'm with Nick here. I think that Mississippi State has looked very good so far. I do like Texas A&M to win this game. I just think it's not by more than 15 points. I guess more than 14 points.
I don't see them blowing them out of the water.
I could see the number ending up being like a 35-24 or something like that, or like a 38-24. Like I see it being a 2-score game, but I think Mississippi State has looked very solid so far. They've proven that they're not a team to really roll over this year in the SEC. Texas A&M is going to win this game, but Mississippi State's going to cover that number. So I'm going Bulldogs. I'm going the over.
And Texas A&M, they're just throughout the years. I mean, just because they've been like this in the past doesn't mean they're going to remain this way. But they've just been a very sort of fickle team. We expect they often lose games they're supposed to win, or they fall apart at moments when you least expect it. That is kind of a thing with A&M that happens kind of a lot. And Mississippi State, they're looking good. They're really not all that bad.
No, they've looked real solid so far. They got the home win against Arizona.
Well.
Shapen's played really well. Yeah. He's been a very solid running back so far. I got the home win against Arizona State, which now looks a little bit better because they just beat TCU. So they could have beat Tennessee last weekend. So
yeah, A&M's schedule gets difficult. A&M's schedule gets difficult around Halloween when they play LSU, Missouri, South Carolina, and Stanford aren't difficult. But then the last game is on the road against Texas. So they're difficult. The difficult part of A&M's schedule is still a little bit ahead of them. I'm not saying they're going to lose, but I think Mississippi State will at least keep it close.
I agree.
All right. That's our show this week. Thanks for tuning in, everybody. You can follow me on Twitter at Nick DiMart, Will at Will Charlton H13, Zain at Zain Bando 99. And you can listen to this show wherever you get your podcast. Thanks for tuning in, everybody.
Yeah, see you guys soon. Cheers.